Good morning, everybody. How we doing, Sammy? United People's TV. It's Friday. It's cold. Anybody in the UK can agree with me on that one. It's freezing. Go and enjoy the cold weather if you want. If you're a weirdo, or you can stay indoors. And you can watch United People's TV. We'll speak about Marcus Rashford. We'll speak about Kvaratskhelia. Pretty sure I pronounced that right. And the sort of reality of Manchester United's situation. Yeah. Sucks. But it's the truth. We'll speak about the latest on... What else we got? We've got Ahmad's new contract. We're going to speak about the Arsenal game that's coming up on Sunday. Predictions, all that jazz. We'll speak about Patrick Dorgu in Napoli. We'll speak about Diego Leon coming over to England. Lots. It'll be a busy Friday show. And as always, you will send in your questions, your comments, and I will interact with as many of you as I possibly can. All right? Look at that to kick off the show. Who's that? Jonas. You're apparently a left back. Jonas LB has gifted 5 memberships. What an absolute don. Who have you gifted 5 memberships to? We've got Shuak, we've got Trav, La Wilson, cheeky, Crimson, and someone else. Can't see who else, but good morning to all of you. From the Mod Gang, and I can see you there. Hope you're doing well, mate. Carl, we've got Stephanie. Good morning to you. Hopefully I've got the majority of the mods added back in, but there's probably still a few that I need to do. Of course, this is still the consequence of the hack. It wasn't me that removed you as mods, all right? I still can't believe that happened. Man, what a wake-up call that was. Whew. Good morning to Craig Potts. We've got Volpez. We've got Loza, Aloysius. We've got Numero Uno and Stu. Good morning to all of you. Right, let's run through news around United before we jump into speaking about Marcus Rashford, okay? And... This made me do a little head wobble. Anybody in the comments, there's no point trying to tell me how to pronounce Kvaratskhelia because I'm just going to call him Kvara? K-Man. Don't know. Anyway, so yesterday, Everton sacked Sean Dyche, which, to be honest, is not exactly much of a surprise. They've got a new ownership group in. Sean Dyche is extremely uninspiring as a manager. He's a pragmatic man. No surprise to see him sacked. Kind of a surprise. Is it? Part of it, you're like, well, there's... Of course they're going to get David Moyes back in on a short-term deal to avoid relegation. Any Everton fan must... I don't know how they must feel. Would you reckon they're happy that Moyes is back? Do you reckon they're unhappy Moyes is back? I would probably guess largely uninspired by the idea of Moyes going back. But if they manage to avoid relegation... Hey, Connie, you're down there saying, call me sick. I kind of want to see Everton go down. Everton have avoided relegation for like 3 years now simply because there have just been some dog-awful teams in the Premier League who have somehow managed to be worse than Everton. I suppose that's what relegation is, right? But anyway, I wonder how Everton fans feel about that. And speaking about Everton, this last night, right? Of course, 1 second there. I've already muted that video. Really hate X and the user experience on Twitter is so crap now, unbelievably crap compared to what it was before. But don't worry, because it's Elon Musk. Twat. I've even blocked him. Still get stuff. Anyway. That's Ashley Young walking off the pitch with his son, who, of course, he didn't get to share the pitch with. And I see Darren Ferguson getting some pelters. What do you think? Do you think Darren Ferguson should have brought him on for the last minute? So, what is it, LeBron and his son? Is it Bronny? Were the first father-son partnership to exist in the NBA. And Ashley Young could have been the first Premier League, first FA Cup footballer, first English footballer to play with his son? I don't quite know. Felt a little bit bad for him now. He was gutted. Connor saying, think that's a disgrace from a managerial perspective. You know you're losing, at least bring him on for the last minute. I think you could have brought him on for the last minute. I think so anyway. A little bit harsh, in my opinion. Kind of felt sorry for him. And in one random bit of... I think this is cool news. Cool news? Don't know how to describe it. Of course, the older heads in the community will remember that the Cliff was Manchester United's old training ground. Before Carrington existed, as United were coming up and United were growing as a football club, we moved from the Cliff. And for a lot of United fans, it still holds and always will hold a lot of memories about how United have grown and increased in size and stature and how we've sort of moved up in the world. And the Cliff is important. So I thought this was a really cool bit of news. Salford got drawn in the FA Cup against City. They're playing this weekend at the Etihad. And because of the freezing conditions in the UK right now, Salford's training facilities have frozen over. So United are letting Salford train at the Cliff. So Giggs will be back at the Cliff. I hope there's some cool photos that come out. Obviously, United have, correctly, by the way, massively distanced themselves from Ryan Giggs since, well, everything that happened. It's like our record. He's a record appearance holder, isn't he? It was Giggs and it was Solskjaer for me, were my two players when I was growing up. Anyway, I hope there's some cool photos that are going to come out of Salford training at the Cliff. Yeah, I just thought that was a nice little touch from United. That very little random story, but fingers crossed Salford can do an absolute madness at the Etihad. That would be 10 out of 10. And you're saying my second home as a kid, I can proudly say that Paul Scholes gave me a black eye. Did he just give you a little 1-2, or did he just absolutely blast the ball in your face? Accidentally, on purpose. Anyway, Marcus Rashford. I did my video yesterday, which was supposed to be a complete summary of what's happened with Rashford so far. From rejecting any interest from Saudi clubs to face-to-face talks with Juve and AC. Now, I said yesterday, I would not be surprised if his agents held talks with Napoli, if his agents held talks with Inter. Kind of feels like it might just be a going around Italian clubs and just speaking to everyone, right? And I saw this, I spoke about this on the podcast earlier. This was from Sky Sports yesterday. This idea that Ibrahimovic was involved in the sales pitch, if you want to call it that, of AC Milan's project and why Rashford would want to be part of it. And this idea that AC and Ibra would tell Rashford that he would be the main man, I kind of find it a little bit hard to believe. A little bit. Because Rafael Leao is their main man, playing in exactly the position that Marcus Rashford would want to play in. It's not to say that Rashford couldn't go on to become the main man at AC Milan, but I think they've kind of already got that. So I don't know whether that's true or not. I found that quite strange, if I was being completely honest. I also found this strange. Like, Aloysius, you're talking about this in the comments. Is there talk of him going to West Ham? Just read through this, all right? West Ham are the latest club to show an interest in Marcus Rashford. There is an acceptance it will be an extremely difficult deal to do given Rashford's wages, and the growing feeling is that Rashford is likely to move to a European club. So you've made a story, and then just killed the story in 3 paragraphs. Rashford and West Ham. Are you kidding me? It's never going to happen. The wages were never, ever going to let that happen. And also, by the way, in terms of a clean break, I think any move to any Premier League team would be massively foolish for Rashford. If I was part of his representatives trying to decide what was next for him, absolutely leaving England is the best case scenario for Rashford now. Because I think Rashford's stock outside of England is significantly higher than Rashford's stock inside England. And if he went to any Premier League club, the noise around him, of course it would change. The scrutiny would be less because he's not at Manchester United, but the scrutiny would remain the same. He needs to get away from the British press as much as he needs to get away from Manchester United, seemingly. See, I just felt that this is such a non-story. And it really is, like, everyone's comment. I can see all your comments down here. Sky Sports used to be the bastion of sports news. I remember when I used to run the People's Person, and Deadline Day they made Deadline Day into some sort of Hollywood event with Jim White and yellow tyres and all that jazz. But Sky Sports would invariably break news first so often. And they really are they're like a crap aggregator now. They're so slow to everything. They're wrong to everything. Not everything. That's a bit unfair. They're wrong to a lot of things. And it's just they've lost their position as the place to go for the news. They're old news now. Sky Sports old news. That's what it should be called. But let's talk about you can call this the main story if you want today. But the reality is, when it comes to Manchester United, this isn't a story. And I suppose that in itself is the conversation that we're going to be having. Because there were reports yesterday afternoon. Could have jumped on, could have done a video straight away, but it's not my style. I'll let things sort of develop a little bit more. I try to anyway, unless it's a big story. It comes from David Ornstein, of course. Kvaratskhelia. Yesterday, L'Equipe in France said PSG faced competition from Manchester United for Napoli's Kvaratskhelia. And United fans got excited. Understandably so. Because, honestly, for me, on paper, I think he's probably the dream replacement for Rashford. The qualities that he has, the profile of the player that he is, he's 23. He's already clearly a top-class player, but still has plenty of growth ahead of him. 4 years of growth, he'll be at his peak as a player. He would be an ideal and a dream signing. Well, it would be for me anyway. I can only speak for myself. Connor, you're saying, hi, Sam. I think we'll hear reports soon that the stadium plans are postponed for 3 to 5 years. Money has to be focused on the squad. Can't afford to do both. I would kind of disagree with that, if I'm honest. I think they're two separate things. I think the stadium is going to be funded by separate money. There's going to be borrowing that happens somewhere. How that borrowing is done is going to be a hugely contested thing, rightly so, among United fans, because of all the debt that we've already got. How will that debt be serviced for that club? We all know that we're going to sell the stadium naming rights. It'll be like Amazon Old Trafford, I don't know, Nike Old Trafford, INEOS Old Trafford, something like that. But anyway, we'll speak about Kvara now. I think it will be a dream signing. Thanks for gifting a couple of memberships down there, Matt. And then yesterday, quite a lot happened with Kvara. PSG tried to sign him in the summer from Napoli, and Napoli said no. And since, Napoli have had a fantastic season, by the way. They're right up there alongside Atalanta and I think Inter at the top of Serie A. Conte's done a great job. McTominay's really settled in well. He would be a fantastic signing. But he stayed at Napoli during the summer. Now the conversations are coming up again in January. Right? And 80 million euros is the number being attached with him. And then, kind of surprisingly so, David Ornstein reported this, that Liverpool would actually consider a move for Kvaratskhelia, despite the fact that they've already got plenty of players in that position. Obviously, he's somebody who's on their list, and it's a bit like when Liverpool signed Luis Diaz, if I remember correctly, Spurs tried to sign him in January, I think, and then Liverpool acted. They effectively acted 6 months earlier than they wanted to, but they didn't want to miss out on Luis Diaz, so they signed him in January. By the looks of it, it might be what they do with Kvaratskhelia if he does leave Napoli. Now, I'd be a little bit half surprised if he was to leave Napoli in January, but also not. because reports are suggesting that PSG are offering him 4 times the wages. Now, the reality that I think a lot of United fans understand now, but some United fans still don't understand, is that we just have to sit on the sidelines and watch this. Right? You've got David Ornstein, who's speaking on, I think it was the latest Athletic podcast, about Manchester United's finances, PSR. He's saying that United are going to be okay for PSR this month, but we all know full well that unfortunately it's leading every conversation. It's leading every decision. And when it comes to someone like Kvaratskhelia, who on paper, it makes so much sense. Marcus Rashford leaving, one of the biggest earners at our club, one of the biggest names at our club. If he was to leave and then you bring in Kvaratskhelia on the left wing, well, not left wing, but left inside forward, I mean, it's like, that makes so much sense because it does make a lot of sense. But we can't afford him. And this is a prediction of mine. And let's see if I'm right or wrong. I don't think Manchester United are going to sign a player worth more than £50 million in the next 4 transfer windows. So that's this winter, the summer, and the next 2 after that. The most expensive signing we made in the summer, I said this going into this summer as well, by the way. And we signed, I think Lenny Yoro was the most expensive signing, wasn't it? 52 million. So they're kind of bang on there. We just can't afford these sorts of players. Type it in the comments, any names that I forget to mention here. Like expensive signings that we've made over the last few years. Obviously, Anthony will come to mind straight away. You've got Casemiro is another one that comes to mind. He was 70 million, wasn't he? What other signings have we made north of 50 million over the last few years? Jadon Sancho, that'll be another one. That was 70 odd million, wasn't he? Thinko Nana was 40 odd million. De Ligt was in that category as well. Ugarte was, Højlund, thank you very much. Højlund's another one. Mason Mount is another one. Jesus. Man, our hit rate. My word, our hit rate is so bad on these. Martinez. Was Martinez 60? 60? Can't remember. Maguire's a fair time ago. But more recently, you can talk about Højlund, you can talk about Mount, you can talk about Casemiro, and you can talk about Anthony. It is disgusting. So the reality is that all United can do is just sit there jealously looking at a player that would be ideal in our system for the type of player that we're trying to sign. He would tick a lot of the profile boxes. He's got the right age profile. He's got the right quality. He's 23. He's got years ahead of him. Same age as Ugarte. And we can't do anything. We can't do anything. And that is reality sucks sort of thing. Really, really does, man. Someone sent a super chat there. Let me read this out. Dad of Caesar saying, been sub for years but wanted to become a member. How can I do this? I'll big up to you, dude. I think if you go down to the bottom, there should be a little $sign. I think you can become a member there. I think that's how it works. I'm sure a mod can help you. Let me see what else you're saying in the comments. I can't remember exactly how much Martinez was, if I'm being totally honest. There's loads of different prices going down there in the comments. But Sancho, miss. Mount, miss. Højlund, expensive. I like Højlund. I really, really like Højlund. But expensive. And Casemiro hit them very quickly a miss. It was a quick hit. But one thing about all of this, right, which I really respect Kieran Maguire. I've had him on this channel before. I've spoken to him a couple of times. He really is one of the leading voices when it comes to football finance and really does understand his stuff. Which is why I find this such a... I would expect this sort of opinion from somebody who doesn't understand football finance, who doesn't understand Manchester United, who doesn't understand what's happened at this football club. Because I find it infuriating beyond belief for anybody to even suggest, which the words have come out of his mouth right here,
INEOS are tarnishing that greatness of all the things which have been achieved. They're making the Glazers look good.
They're making the Glazers look good. And it just hurts my head. Because it's the sort of opinion which, as I said, somebody who doesn't really understand United's finances would say. It's just really poor, man. Are INEOS making bad decisions? Yeah, fuck yeah. Man, there is so much I've disagreed with in these last 3 to 4 months. And so much of the goodwill that INEOS built up in their first 6 months, they're undoing a lot of it. But every single decision that is happening right now, the reason that we as a football club, Manchester United, have to sit by and watch a player like Kvaratskhelia leave Napoli, and we need a player in that position perfectly, and we just got to sit there and do this. It is because our football club financially has been taken as close to ruin as you can possibly take a business with 600 million in revenue. And Jordan, you're saying down there, unfortunately, I agree. It's like, dude, please don't. It is so... I don't know how to describe it. But for you to even suggest that INEOS in these 12 months are doing more damage than the fucking Glazers have done to this football club, like, you're going to piss me off beyond belief. Because the damage that they have done, they are sitting there in the background happy that somebody is now taking the punches in the face for making this, for actually looking at the bottom line of our football club and trying to get some sort of turn it around. And it just fucks me off. Like, don't say that stuff. And do not say that stuff as a United fan. Like, holy hell. It's just, like, look, Jordan, you're saying you didn't say it like that. It's precisely what you just said there in the comments. So don't just back out of it because I pulled it up, all right? And it's very lazy to try and suggest that they're worse than what the Glazers are. Oh, they're just more Glazers. It fucks me off, man. But boy, oh boy. I don't know how long this tunnel is. I mean, I remember when... What was it? February... No, it was December last year. So just over a year since INEOS took over. And I remember speaking at the time, and the hope and the ambition was that within 3 years, the Glazers would not be majority shareholders. I'm going to put this in the comments. How confident are you still of that? So what would that be? Do you think by December 2027, the Glazers won't be majority shareholders? Because that was always the aim, I think. I don't think that's never been explicitly put down on paper. It's never been explicitly said. But I believe there's certain clauses in the contract, isn't there? Certain clauses, I can't remember off the top of my head. I really can't, because it was really complicated. But just that as a top level thing, as a top level question, do you think by December 2027, so just under 2 years, do you think that INEOS would have been able to buy out another, I think they need to get another 23% of the shares? Yeah, Jonah, there is a drag-along clause. So hypothetically, Sheikh Jassim exists, comes in with a $9 billion offer tomorrow, and the Glazers decide, yep, we want to sell now. They've got a drag-along clause, which means they can force INEOS to sell, but that's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. Yeah. What do you think? I apologize that it's phrased a little strangely, but by December 2027, do you think INEOS will be majority shareholders of our football club and therefore in control of our football club? I'll see what you're saying down here. 350 votes, and I'm not surprised that it's that. It's bang on. 48% are saying yes, 52% are saying no. It's right on the line. I mean, we're 1 year in. I've already done a video. Paul Scholes went on the overlap saying that INEOS have done nothing positive since they came over. And again, I'm going to put that in the exact same category as a very top level opinion I would expect of somebody who doesn't know anything at United. Ratcliffe's put in $300 million of his own money, which is $300 million more than the Glazers ever did. The communication that was there at the very start. They made some good changes, some good cuts. And then they follow that up with some mad stuff. All the stuff around tickets. I understood, and I've spoken to people who worked for United. And it really depends on what side of the fence you sit. Because some felt that the cuts were necessary, and then some felt some cuts weren't. And there are some casualties, but also some necessary. There is no right or wrong answer as to whether the cuts, especially to the workforce, were needed. But to try and suggest by Paul Scholes that INEOS have done nothing positive, it's a sort of opinion I would expect on TalkSport. To try and suggest that INEOS are as bad as worse or as worse than the Glazers is a sort of opinion I would expect on TalkSport. And it's just, man, this club, this football club, man. Like this is Man United. You know, I've said this before. We shouldn't at any point have to worry about money. Ever. We're one of the 3 biggest clubs in the world still. That's been built up off the back of Sir Alex Ferguson steering us to 13 Premier League titles in 20 years. Our revenues have consistently been north of £500 million. We have huge deals. We have secure revenue. Yet because of the debt that this is what I mean. You want to try and put INEOS in the same category as the Glazers, who have burdened our club with debt, taken £1 billion of money away from our football club to pay for that debt, and you want to try and put INEOS on the same level as that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that one. Because any logical United fan is going to slap you upside the head on that one. Not to say that INEOS haven't done some bad stuff, because they absolutely have done some bad and made some bad decisions recently. George, you're saying I'll explain. Yeah, that's fine. You can explain whatever you want to in Discord later. But it's just, if I'm having a conversation in the live chat, if you put 3-4 words, dude, that's going to be how I take it. I don't have the ability to have nuanced, in-depth conversations with any individual in a live conversation. So if you put something in a short 1 or 2 sentence, make sure it's what you mean. Because it's all I can take in a very, very short space of time. Mahad saying, I don't understand the people that think INEOS are in it for the business. Dude, do you know how stupid that concept is? If INEOS were in it for the business, they'd never buy Manchester United. Why? You know what, lads? I love money. No. Money. That's all I care about is money. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and buy a business that's overpriced, where I'm not going to have 100% control, that's made a loss for the last 5 years. Yeah, why not? Seems like a perfect way to make money. It's the complete opposite. From a money-making perspective, Manchester United was a horrendous purchase in the short term. Now, in the long term, if you actually had plans to make United top again, then it's a massive money-making venture in the long term. But to suggest it couldn't have been a worse short-term investment because of how much money is going to have to be put into it, how much time and effort, and to correct the problems that have been created for the last 20 years. Long-term, it's an incredible investment. But I don't know how long-term that is before it would turn into that. It's probably, honestly, say about a decade. I'd say about 10 years for INEOS to realise the true investment return. And I'm saying 10 years because that's going to include the stadium situation. Right, anyway, let's move on to speak about more transfers. A little bit of a moan there. I like having a moan sometimes. Everyone's allowed a moan. Saw this yesterday, speaking about moaning. Saw this coming from Italy. The suggestion is that Napoli have reached an agreement with Lecce for Patrick Dorgu. And part of the suggestion is that they're going to allow Patrick Dorgu to stay at Lecce until the end of the season. If they do that, it's a very cheeky and smart move from Napoli, which will give them a massive advantage in any dealings with Napoli with Lecce for him. There's not been any. In fact, there's been none whatsoever when it comes to United's move for a new left wing back in January. There's not been any actual real movement. Now, look, we've been linked with loads, right? I'll go to the whiteboard. Alvaro Fernandez, I haven't actually really heard that go any further than, well, we all know we got the buyback clause, but nothing's actually happened. Nuno Mendes, that's probably the one we've had most links with, but he would be probably the most expensive. That's not going to happen. Patrick Dorgu is one we've been linked with. We've got Kirkes, we've got Aitnouri, we've got Teo Hernandez. Not really been any moves with any of them. But it'll be interesting to see if Napoli have taken a lead and moved for Dorgu before United do. One to watch, of course, but that'll be annoying. That would be quite annoying. Speaking of left-backs, Diego Leon, of course, we signed the 17-year-old from Cerro Porteño in Paraguay. And the reports out here from South America are suggesting that he is going to be travelling to Manchester on Saturday. He'll go to Carrington. He'll do his medical. He'll complete the formalities of his move to United. Maybe we'll see a photo of him with Nick Cox or Ruben Amorim. Maybe he'll go and meet some of the players. And then he'll fly back to Paraguay to take part in the under-20s championships. Of course, Diego Leon will not be joining until the summer because he's 17. And we can't, because of Brexit, you can't sign any players who aren't 18. That's why we couldn't sign Bergvall, of course, who scored his first goal for Spurs. He trained at United twice. He was a United fan when he grew up. He absolutely would have joined United, but we couldn't sign him. Spurs took advantage of that, agreed a deal with him, and then he stayed at his club until he was 18. Kind of the same sort of thing that we have done here with Diego Leon. So let's see if we get some photos out. Maybe that comes out on Saturday. Now, some photos that came out yesterday, some good ones. Yeah, boy. Here's some good news for you. After a little bit of moaning here this morning. How many votes on the poll? Let's have a look. Let's end the poll now. We've got 800 votes and 52% of you think that the Glazers won't be majority shareholders by December 2027. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. Anyway, Ahmad signed the new deal yesterday until 2030. So 5.5-year deal for Ahmad. And this is what he said, right? He said, I'm really proud to have signed this new contract. I've had some incredible moments with this club already, but there is so much more to come. I have huge ambitions in the game, and I want to achieve history at Manchester United. I've learned so much since arriving here 4 years ago, so I'm very grateful to the coaches and staff who have helped me develop, and to the fans who drive me forward. It's been a difficult season for everyone, but I fully believe that we are on the right path. I'm ready to give everything to help the team and make our supporters proud again. And Ahmad deserves it, okay? I really do think that this will prove to be an important contract signing for a couple of reasons. Number one, because Ahmad's a top-class player. He was going to be available on a free transfer. He's dedicated his future to United. He wants to be here, and all fans want him to be here. That's reason number one. Reason number two is I think this will be an important contract to use as an example for other negotiations that happen. Ahmad has very quickly, through Ruud and Ruben, become an established first-team star at United now. He is a regular player in that starting 11, and for some people, you probably put Ahmad down as one of the first names on the team sheet. And he's just signed a new contract. Now, I'm hoping that they build bonuses into this contract. I don't know. No one is ever going to truly know what contracts are because that information doesn't come out. Copology is only ever a sort of a rough estimation. But we're going to have some Mainu conversations coming up. We're going to have some maybe Garnacho conversations coming up. Our wage structure has been awful. The signings we made in the summer were all on reasonable wages. I think De Ligt was probably on the most, and that's because of his career path to date, going from Ajax to Juve to Bayern to United. Came with a premium. Ahmad's new contract, I hope, is in line with a new wage structure that's being implemented at United, and any players now asking for, Casemiro's on 350. No, hold up. That's the old administration. Ahmad's just signed a new contract. These are the terms that we agree with Ahmad. This is a new structure at United. You can either agree with it and fall in line, or we'll move you on. Done. I saw James Ducker this morning doing an article on Alexis Sanchez, and it just made me go, oh, God. I swear the ripple effect of the Alexis Sanchez transfer is one of the most damaging ripple effects that's ever happened at this football club. Another one that was massively damaging was David Gill leaving and being replaced by Ed Woodward and all the decisions that followed that. But the contract of Alexis Sanchez, we're still suffering from the fallout of it. Quite a few of you in the comments saying, what are the details of Ahmed's contract? Like, could you imagine if all football contracts just leaked? Like, imagine you just sign a contract with your new job. You go on LinkedIn in 3 days and your whole contract's online. You're like, what? A lot of this information we won't be privy to. And nor really should be. They're private contracts. I suppose it's a little bit different because it's a public limited company. But on the balance sheet, you'll only have a total number for how much the wages cost. So ultimately, that's when we're going to really find out how United's wage structure actually changes, is the end of year accounts and looking at how much the wages have been compared to the year before. Someone down here, John, I know you're trolling down there saying that Mainu should be getting 200 grand a week. I hope you're trolling because absolutely should not be getting 200 grand a week. It is an outrageous and ridiculous suggestion. Now, I think there's a little something telling from this image. A little something telling that makes no sense. But the fact that Jason Wilcox is sat there alongside Ahmad, I think is indicative of a conversation that we should be having. All right? Because yesterday, we've got this from... who is it? Sammy Mockbell from the Daily Mail, talking about United's new executive structure. And Jason Wilcox I've not seen or heard anything negative about Jason Wilcox since he joined from Southampton. Now, remember that when we signed him from Southampton, he was their sporting director. So he was already in a position of power. It wasn't as if we signed the technical director from... We signed their actual sporting director. He's come in, and Jason Wilcox has had a very good impression on everybody, from Barada and Brailsford to Ratcliffe and everyone else in between. Now, of course, he worked previously with Barada at City, so it's probably why their working relationship works together. There's a fair comment there from Langarooni saying, I would prefer not to know who Jason Wilcox was. Yeah, I agree. I've said this before. It's quite sad how much time I've spent talking about the administration of our football club. I'd rather not talk about it. I'd rather just be able to focus on the football. But until everything... It's like if you run your own business, man. Until something runs so securely and safely that you can take your eyes off it, you're always going to be looking at it. You're never going to be able to fully delegate and look elsewhere and focus on maybe scaling your business, because until this is in order, I can't not look at it. And that's the case with United's structure still. Wilcox has really impressed. And it looks like Man United aren't going to be replacing Dan Ashworth with a new appointment. It seems like Dan Ashworth's responsibilities are going to be taken up by Barada, by Wilcox, and also by Chris Favell. Now, when Chris Favell came in the summer, he was brought in on a temporary basis to help with recruitment. And I think he was given the title of Director of Global Talent. And the suggestion is that Chris Favell's role is now going to be made permanent too. So you're probably looking at our first ever full-time director of recruitment. Somebody whose main purpose at this football club and job title is specifically about transfers. And if you look at United signing Sekou Kone in the summer, United signing Diego Leon, these are the signings I would expect United to make more of. And they're the ones we are and should be making more of. So it seems like United's structure won't need a new face. Yeah, Carl, I did say at the time I thought it would end up being permanent. I thought it would end up being permanent in the idea that if United had the multi-club model, that he would step up. If he was Director of Global Talent, and we actually really did establish a multi-club model, which I do think will come in time, but we've got to get our house in order at United first before you start speaking about building a huge multi-club model. And at that point, you could see Chris Favell step up to become the Director of Recruitment for the whole multi-club model and then bring someone else in underneath him. But it sounds like this is what we should be expecting. Barada, and I saw your comment there saying, a bit worried that Omar Barada's sort of operating in the background quietly. I'm not really sure what we need to hear from him publicly. I think the ticket situation is one where it would be good to hear more publicly from the CEO, because they made a big old mistake on that. I think so anyway. Yechi, you left the super chat. What are you saying? At what time should we start expecting our team to win a game? Don't take me wrong, but if we expect them to win and they don't, things would be bad. But if we have a mindset like the Liverpool one, things are different. Arsenal? We'll speak about Arsenal next. I think that's a fair and pretty good question, to be honest. I don't think we can expect United to win just yet, but I'll ask that question in a second. Either way, I don't think that United have been particularly damaged by the exit of Dan Ashworth. I think United have been damaged by the fact that Ashworth came in the first place. There was a mistake. Two biggest mistakes I think that INEOS have made so far have been giving Erik ten Hag a new contract and signing Dan Ashworth. I mean, INEOS have made other mistakes. We all know lots of those. But I think they're the two biggest ones. And the reason Dan Ashworth was sacked was partly because of Ten Hag and the fact that he kept him on. But we didn't need Dan Ashworth. It was an incorrect appointment. And I think that came from Brailsford. I think Brailsford's got away a bit scot-free through all of this, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, Steve, I saw that as well, saying tickets last night for Southampton were not 66 quid. I need to look into this. You remember with the £66 tickets, the suggestion from United was that the only tickets that are going to be sold for 66%, it's only going to be, what was it, like? I think they said like 3% of tickets or something like that. Anything that was then unsold, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely seemed more than 3%. Either way, I'm going to look into that because maybe United have backed out from it already. But let's speak about last 5-10 minutes of the show. Arsenal on Sunday. Big old game. Looking forward to it, man. FA Cup game. There's going to be 8,000 plus, I think, United fans. It should have been just over 9,000, but I think there's going to be about 8,000 plus United fans at the Emirates. And Arsenal right now, it feels like a really good time to play Arsenal. Famous last words and all that. It was a really bad time to play Liverpool, but we put in a fantastic performance. So if we can do that against Liverpool with the week that we had going into it after Newcastle, with the feeling and the sentiment that was around the club and put in that level of performance, why can't we do that away at Arsenal? We've also had another week with no game in midweek. That definitely helped us last week. And just where Arsenal are right now, like you've got, as a current holders of the FA Cup, United will play with this gold limited edition pro match ball in the third round against Arsenal on Sunday. Arteta's going to be pissed. Rich, you're talking about that Giggs won the goal. Yeah, man, I always think about that. When it comes to Arsenal in the FA Cup, you can't not think about 99. The replay at old at Villa Park. That game. Roy Keane getting sent off. Was it Phil Neville with the penalty? I think Phil Neville gave away the penalty. Schmeichel saving it. What a game. What a game. Anyway, go down here and see what you're saying. George, you sent a super chat. Saying, Sam, what I meant was I personally haven't seen any proper changes to the club. It's early to suggest they are Glazers 2.0. However, nothing rapidly has changed to bring this club to the top again. Were you honestly expecting rapid change? You're talking about like 20 years of damage. It's not possible to undo 20 years of damage rapidly. And any attempt by United to do anything rapid previously, signing Casemiro for 70 million, trying to skip the queue. It's not. We are truly in a rebuild now. Truly, we are in a rebuild. And the same with Amorim. We could make it a rapid change of, I don't know. How about Ruben, you just scrap the 3-4-3 and just go to something, we'll get a couple of wins. Lovely jubbly. That'll make me feel better in the short term. That won't rebuild you in the long term. You stick to it. You go through the pain. A rebuild will take time. And if you were expecting rapid changes in the first 12 months, and I think there have been a lot, then I think you're just a bit foolish. It's going to take a long time. Yeah, what's your prediction for the game? I'll leave a little poll, a little cheeky poll to end the show. Result on Sunday. Arsenal go through. United go through. Actually, no, is it? No, it's replays, aren't they? Arsenal win. Draw. Are there replays in the third round now? Or they got rid of replays this year? I don't even know. I'll put that down as the three options. To me, it feels like Arsenal's fan base is on the precipice of exploding again. Like, obviously, the frustrating draws that they're having, the frustrating season that they're having. They don't have a striker. They just got steam. They didn't just get beaten by Newcastle. They got properly dismantled by Newcastle. Is it extra time and penalties? No replays, quite a few of you are saying in the comments. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore whether they got rid of the... Quite a few of you are saying no replays. Well, if that's the case, then it's extra time and pens. So I'll leave those down there. Oh. I'd love to compound Arsenal. Actually, no, sod compounding Arsenal's misery. It just feels like after what we did at Liverpool, I'd be so disappointed. I really would be if United didn't build on that. Because my word, if you can't build on that, then what the fuck do you want? We've had a week between the games. It was a performance that galvanised the fan base, that showed that these players can do it. And the players deserved the praise after. And you've had a week between. And there's been no injuries. There's nothing. There's no logical reason as to why United can't build on that, other than the fact that they just default to character, which is what I hope doesn't happen. Right, let me see what you're saying down here. Nathan, you're saying, I feel like after the Liverpool game, it has to be our turning point. Like how you saw Martinez after the game going, it's in the mind. Bruno was speaking about, well, if we can do that against Liverpool, why can't we do it every week? And Diallo was speaking about how he felt a pinch after Amram said that United was starved by leaders, or starved from leaders. Like, has the penny dropped with these players? Truly? Or was that just all lip service? This is what we'll find out against Arsenal on Sunday. And we're in a better position going into this game than Arsenal now. They're going to feel like a necessity to win this game after Newcastle. I wouldn't say it's a necessity, but it's a massive opportunity for United to actually take one step forward and then take another step forward in 2 away games against Liverpool and Arsenal. Jonas, you're saying, Sam, I remember you said we could not expect a turnaround even if we won. I'm not sure what you mean there. The FA Cup is not going to be the measure of whether United's season is successful or not. But football works in momentum. Football works in form and confidence. Only way you get confident is by building momentum. Only way you build momentum is by building results, one after the other. So follow up that Liverpool game with Arsenal on Sunday. I'm going to run through my starting 11 and all that team news in my lunchtime video today, by the way. Someone sent a super chat. Let me read this out. Not a hater of INEOS. There are some things questionable, but I see some hope. Amram, the transfers, them not saying anything to Amram about Rashford. I think they lack his admitting they are wrong. I mean, I would kind of disagree with that a little bit. Dude, they sacked Ashworth like 5 months after getting him in. They might not be screaming from the rooftops, we're wrong, but sacking a sporting director that you brought in 5 months after you spent 5 months getting him in is as clear a day an admission of we're wrong as you're ever going to get. If they didn't want to admit they were wrong, they would just have a sporting director they'd keep at the club for another 6 months, despite the fact that they know it's all wrong. But instead, they got rid of it. I mean, they made a massive mistake in the first place. I'm not going to say it's great, but I think that's a massive admission of them being wrong. New ball for Sunday, please. Woo. Arteta's going to be pissed when that flies into the top corner 3 times. Pissed. Ola saying, would love us to win, but can't see it currently. On the poll, we've got 500 votes, and 73% of you are saying United win. I bloody hope you're all right. Now, of course, it's Friday, so it's map day. So let me know where you're watching from. This sort of pulls into perspective the week that it's been here at United People's TV. Because on, what was it? Sunday night? It was after the Liverpool game. And I was there as the channel got hacked by crypto scammers. And we're back here now on Friday with our map day, with a map with 721 points that we've built up over years and years of this live show and this community that we've got. And we nearly lost it, but we didn't. And that won't ever happen again. I will promise you that. It won't ever happen again. Craig, you're saying, I think everyone needs to calm down. INEOS and Amrim need time. Rome wasn't built in a day. We are just trying to rebuild our Rome. As much as I agree with the overall sentiment of that, Craig, I think that's like an equally as frustrating and infuriating sentence to say as, oh, INEOS are the new Glazers. It's not a case of just sitting there going patiently, I know that Rome wasn't built in a day. What I think we can all reasonably expect is the continued progression. Now, the easiest way for that to happen is by actually winning games of football. You'll be amazed at how much more forgiving people are for stuff that INEOS do if United win 4 or 5 games in a row. You'll be amazed at how much that narrative changes. Now, let's get the map up and let's get a few of you onto the map. We've got Raymar watching from Tilburg in the Netherlands. Is Tilburg nice? There's a place called Tilbury in Essex, which is awful. Absolutely awful. We've got Pele watching from upstairs. No, we've got Pele watching from Luleå. Luleå in Sweden. Going to go for Luleå. Probably wrong. Definitely wrong. Let's get one more onto the map. Let's go. We've got Sarab watching from Nashik in India. Nashik in India. On you go, sir. Welcome aboard. That's 3 of you on the map. 724. At some point, we're going to reach 1,000. How cool would that be? Thank you for gifting the membership there, Jordan. And thank you for everyone for the chat. Look, I love having these live shows. I love United. Sometimes I get a bit overpassionate. But hey, we all do. I will be here later today with my predicted 11 and match prediction for the Arsenal game and all the team news. Tomorrow, I might have another video coming out. Undecided, but I might have a special under 18s video to release. And on Sunday, I'll be here with a match reaction. All right. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend. Drink responsibly and all that jazz. I hope you enjoy yourselves. And I will see you soon. Take it easy.